And joining us now, pleased to have with us the Executive Director of the National Sunflower Association, John Sandbakken, is joining us today. John, great to catch up with you, and I hope things are going well.
Well, they are, and thank you for having me on your program today, Jesse.
Well, let's dive in. Let's talk sunflowers. And, the last week or so, we've seen a pretty big uptick in planting progress nationwide for many of our major row crops. And it sounds like sunflower planting picking up pace as well here, including across much of the Dakotas and then even Kansas, Colorado, parts of Minnesota, really seeing a good jump in planting here this last week, John.
The weather conditions have been just great here. I mean, I tell you, the last 2 weeks have really been just a godsend. The planters have been just rolling, and there really hasn't been anything that slowed people down. There's been in the northern plains states, there's been a few showers here and there, but nothing that really shuts us down for days. I know in the high plains they were a little bit concerned. Now they're getting a lot of rain. At first they were way too dry, but given the planting window that they have, they're going to easily catch up. It's not going to be much of an issue, and they're very thankful for that moisture.
Well, let's think about this here. Obviously, we look at the planting pace, and if we continue to have another good week or two like we had this past week, I'd have to imagine sunflower planting is going to come and go pretty quickly here if we continue to have this nice weather, John.
Definitely. We picked up 25% of the acres this last week, or I should say the previous week. And if it stays dry this week, and given the fact that other crops are basically done being planted, I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to be in that 60 to 70% range done, with the sunflower crop. And we're way ahead of where we were last year at this time. We were so late because of the wet conditions, and we're even caught up to the 5-year average already within just a week. And so that it just shows you how quickly the crop can be planted.
Well, I know as well, looking at USDA estimates for sunflower acreage, sounds like acreage intentions down just a little bit, according to USDA's May oil crops outlook report. As you looked at that report, what's your thoughts with that and just acreage maybe being down just a little bit this year?
I would agree with that. I think we're going to be down somewhat. We had just a huge crop. We had the second largest sunflower crop ever last year. Just a super good sized crop. And so some of that is still sitting in the bins. And sometimes when you have that kind of a situation, it discourages folks from planting, a little bit more extra acres. But, overall, I think, we're going to see a slight decrease, but, there were some areas here that were a little bit wetter. Some of the other crops, beyond their, optimal planting window. And I think we might even see an uptick and pick up some of those acres. So overall, I think the market is very healthy. And it's just one of those things that, every year there's going to be ups and downs in various crops. And this year we're going to be down a little bit, I think.
Well, you mentioned the market being very healthy as you look at old crop prices and new crop prices. Anything stand out to you that our sunflower growers need to keep in mind?
Well, they're not going to see the prices we saw last year after the Russians invaded Ukraine. I mean, those are just phenomenal. We're at $40. I mean, we're at about $21 to $23 right now. But in that, if you look at last year's prices, you think, wow, that's not very good. But historically, that's above average. I mean, we're above the 5-year average in our prices. So, I think that we're still very competitive. And the thing with sunflower is when you look at that price, you also have to factor in the oil premium that sunflower pays, and that can be, for example, if you had 45% oil content, that's another 10% on top of that $23. So it puts you over $25 a hundredweight. So it just a return that some other crops don't offer.
Well, and you mentioned globally here, sunflower production forecast to increase. You think about sunflower oil. I know we're seeing still the war in Ukraine going on. So, as you think about some of those other areas of the world that produce sunflowers pretty readily, what's your thoughts on this global outlook with some of those other factors still at play here, John?
Well, it's going to be another year, just like it was last year, a moving target. I mean, it just one of those things. It was so hard to pin down because information, at least reliable information, is very hard to get out of the Black Sea region. From what I understand, the Russians are going to increase the crop size that they have. Ukraine is trying to increase, but the Ukrainian crop is not going to be anywhere near where it was pre-war. Definitely, it's going to be down. And it just sort of like it's really hard at this point to know what's all going to be planted, what's going to be out there. We'll have a better idea this summer And I think the market's going to adjust to whatever type of crop size they see. I know USDA's estimate is that world production or global production of sunflower will decrease this year in 2023. So just one of those things to take into consideration that if market demand does pick up and we have given the crop size we're going to have, I mean, prices are going to be pretty attractive, I think.
Well, we're going to continue to watch prices. We're going to continue to watch planting progress here over the next couple of weeks to see how things progress. John, I want to touch on as well, your summer seminar session is coming up here in June for the association. I know a lot of farm bill talk is out there. I'm sure other things. So can you give us just a quick overview of some of the highlights that's going to be coming up there at that summer session?
Well, one of the things that we're going to discuss, our meeting is going to be in Spearfish, South Dakota, and that's bird food is such a big factor in the South Dakota market. And so we're going to have a panel discussion on where is the bird food feeding industry right now? What are the trends? What does the future hold for bird feeding? I mean, we had a big uptick during COVID, and it's dropped back a little bit, but what does the future hold for that market? Obviously, we're going to discuss Farm Bill. That's top of mind for everybody right now, and hopefully, once we get this debt ceiling issue taken care of, then we'll be able to focus on the Farm Bill. We're also going to have somebody that's going to talk about geopolitics. And when you think of the war in Ukraine and other things like that, there are so many factors outside of agriculture that affect the markets. And Jacob Shapiro from Global Partners is going to be there to discuss what he sees in the future and down the road for what political events are going to happen in the world and how that could affect markets. So I think they'll be very interesting.
Well, I'm sure if folks want to get registered for the summer seminar, I would think going online, sunflowernsa.com, probably a great place to start, isn't it, John?
Definitely. You'll be able to see the full agenda there and then also all the arrangements that are coming up for the meeting.
Fantastic. Again, that website, sunflowernsa.com for more information. With that, John Sandbakken, Executive Director of the National Sunflower Association. Always great to catch up with you, sir. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Sounds great, Jesse. Thank you.